consistent with the provocation from Washington that began 2 weeks ago when our city was calm and millions of Angelenos were going about working and contributing to our city. The provocation has resulted in lives disrupted, terror and fear spread throughout our city. I spent the day today meeting with businesses. We met on Sunday, and businesses were empty, owners were suffering, and describing this situation as worse than COVID. Just think for a minute how profound that is. Workers who are too afraid to come into work, and customers who feel they can't go outside their house. I also met with mothers who do not know where their husbands are and their sons. They told me about their children who spent Father's Day wondering why their fathers did not come home. And I just want you to know that that's a trauma to a child that child will always carry with them. Unfortunately, the Vice President did not take time to learn about our city and understand that our city is a city of immigrants from every country and continent on the planet. But then again, he did need to justify the hundreds of millions of wasted taxpayers' dollars that were wasted in the performance of a stunt and an experiment in this city, and using men and women of our armed services whose mission it is to protect our country. He accused state leaders and myself as mayor of this city of encouraging violence, of sicking mobs on ICE officers. But let me just tell you, like yesterday, what happened at the Dodgers, we're not sure who these armed men are. They show up without uniforms. They show up completely masked. They refuse to give ID. They're driving regular cars with tinted windows, and in some cases, out-of-state license plates. Who are these people? And frankly, the vests that they have on look like they ordered them from Amazon. Are they bounty hunters? Are they vigilantes? If they're federal officials, why is it that they do not identify themselves? You can imagine the fear and the terror that has created in our city when you have cars driving around, people jumping out of those cars with guns and rifles and pulling people off the street. How dare you say that city officials encourage violence? We kept the peace. You know that the federal officials that were here protected a federal building. They were not involved in crowd control. Crowd control was handled most aptly by the Los Angeles Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, and local law enforcement. We were able to handle the violence and the vandalism that occurred. We put a curfew in place. We've lifted that curfew. Our streets have been peaceful, and even when there was vandalism at its height, you are talking about a couple of hundred people who were not necessarily associated with any of the peaceful protests. And for those of you who are watching outside of Los Angeles, I will say it over and over again. Los Angeles is a city that is 500 square miles. And any of the disruption that took place in about 2 square miles in our city. The most, over 100 people were arrested. We are a city of 3.8 million people. And finally, Mr. Vice President, how dare you disrespect our senator? You don't know his name, but yet you served with him before you were vice president, and you continue to serve with him today, because the last time I checked, the Vice President of the United States is the President of the U.S. Senate. You serve with him today, and how dare you disrespect him and call him Jose? But I guess he just looked like anybody to you. Well, he's not just anybody to us. He is our senator. And you fly in, you parachute in the city. I don't know if you've ever been here before. You parachute in the city, you pass all kinds of judgment, and then you leave. And you add to the provocation, you add to the division, or you attempt to create division in our city. But I just want you to know that our city is standing together. We are united. You might attempt to create division, but you are united. Standing with me today are families business owners, community leaders, representatives, and nothing you can do will divide us. Thank you.
Any questions for Mayor, obviously, the President and Vice President have repeatedly described Los Angeles as burning to the ground.
Right.
People around the country that this is a city where rioting is still happening. Can you give a description to folks maybe outside the city of how you describe the city, even during the last 2 weekends here?
I would describe the city, I mean, you might know our city after a major sporting event, and people come out and it's called melee. We had peaceful protests. At the end of those protests, when you have the people that are scragglers or who intervene at the last minute, and it reached maybe 100 people, and they graffitied up buildings. And let me tell you, I'm not underestimating how serious that was, the vandalism all throughout the downtown area, okay? There was one day where there was a looting of businesses. There were windows that were broken, but it was a very small couple of blocks in our city, a handful of people. It is an absolute lie to say the city of 500 square miles, when maybe 2 square miles, there were problems that lasted a few hours that we were perfectly capable of handling. That's how I would describe what is going on in our city, and you can look at the streets today. Our streets have been peaceful. This is Friday. There have not been any problems in our city since the protests that happened on Saturday, period.
Mayor Vance, the Dodgers announced today $1 million donation in partnership with the city to go towards immigrant communities.
Yes.
How exactly do you anticipate that money to be spent?
Well, we're working that out, but basically our people need cash. People need to pay groceries. The woman that I met with today, who is now the sole provider in her family, her rent is $2,100. She doesn't have a means to pay for that. She's not going to work because she doesn't know if she's going to come home, and she has children at home. This is what has happened when you create this type of terror. And mind you, there was nothing happening here. The administration started off talking about gang members, drug dealers, violent people. There's no violent people up here, and the people up here have been impacted by this. I don't think people who are day laborers just trying to survive from day to day, people who are on bus stops, people who are going to church, people who are in a park, how does that go along with what the administration said they were trying to do? Thank you. Thank you.
Real quick,
Oh.
because you had touched on it briefly about how the Vice President described your actions as potentially egging on rioters and saying it's open season on law enforcement. Can you talk about your relationship with the police chief and sheriff, and you guys have had conversations where comments were made about everything that's gone on?
Well, no, I mean, the comments were made just a couple of hours ago, but let me just tell you that I talk to the police chief multiple times a day. I usually start my mornings out by talking to the police chief. I selected him. We hired him in this city. I'm very close with him. I work very well with law enforcement. I go out and meet with law enforcement regularly. That is the thing that is that is such a problem in what the vice president is doing. To come and just openly lie. But I know, unfortunately, this is not new of this administration. It's not unusual to say that today is Sunday when everybody in the world knows it's Friday, and then insist on it. So how does that help the nation's second largest city to come out and paint a picture that is completely false? You damage the economy of our city. Our city, we have entire sectors of our economy that is dependent on immigrant labor. We need to get the city rebuilt. We need to prepare the city for the upcoming events. And this is not contributing to that at all. But let me just take a minute. Do you mind if I put you on the spot? Would you please talk about your restaurant?
Sure.
And the Sunday, Father's Day,
Thank
that I
you.
spent in your restaurant.
Yeah, good morning,
By
good
the way,
afternoon.
the food was great.
Yeah.
I took a lot of
My name's Antonio Gallo. I'm one of the owners of Casa Fina restaurant in Boyle Heights. It's been a staple in the area of Boyle Heights. Normally on Father's Day, we're packed. We have people waiting about 20 minutes. On that Sunday, I mean, it was just, there was nobody there, right? Folks were afraid to come out, and now we have to consider about what do we do with our employees, right? We have no money coming in. It's just the raids in the city, and it's scaring our folks. It's scaring our people, and it has to stop, or a lot of folks are going to lose their jobs. I could. Yeah, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Antonio Gallo. Soy uno de los dueños de Casa Fina en Boyle Heights. Hemos estado ahí por muchos años. Normalmente los domingos, que es el Día del Padres, estamos llenos, ¿verdad? Esperando a gente que llegue. La gente está esperando 30 minutos. Ese domingo los fue muy feo, muy despacio. Fue algo muy triste. No está llegando ingresos. Ahora tenemos que pensar en qué vamos a hacer con nuestros empleados. Si los vamos a tener que de ir, ¿verdad? Es una cosa muy horrible que está pasando en la ciudad. Si no paran estas radas, vamos a sufrir mucho y vamos a tener que cerrar la Casa Fina, que ha estado ahí en ese lugar por casi 50 años.
Any more questions? Yes.
Mayor Bess, I know today you visited restaurants. My colleague Alex was here, was out there asking me questions about myself. I was out here talking to businesses impacted by the curfew. Many of those businesses say they were grateful for the curfew, it kept their business safe, but the reality is it did also hurt their bottom line.
Right.
You kind of touched on maybe trying to come up with a plan to help out
Yes.
businesses such as the ones behind you as well.
Mhm.
We know money's tight in the budget right now with the city. How do you think that can move forward?
Sure, and let me just say that thank you for mentioning the curfew, because that is an example of what we did to make sure that order was maintained here. We did the curfew. We didn't need the curfew to happen from Washington, just like we didn't need the troops. And so the business community requested it. We put it in place. We lifted it in terms of reducing the hours, and then when we felt the city was safe, the area was safe, we lifted it. So the curfew hasn't been in place since Tuesday. Of course, it's taking them a while to come back, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is because people are afraid. People are afraid to patronize the business. People are afraid to go to work. So that is the main reason. And so you asked me, what are we going to do to help the businesses? Just like you heard about the gift from the Dodgers, and we are going to work to make sure that that becomes resources that are distributed to individuals. And you should know that this is similar to resources that were provided during COVID. And so this morning, I started off my morning on a Zoom call with over 20 foundations from around the country and also local to look at how we can provide support, not just for individuals and for families, but also for businesses. We want to make sure our restaurants succeed. And then what I would just encourage everyone to do, please patronize these restaurants. Please go to the restaurants, because people are struggling. And it's just really sad when our economy, I mean, obviously we've had the issues in the city, and to have this unenforced error. I mean, there was just no need for this to happen. And unfortunately, the last 2 weeks, you've seen a huge dip in different sectors of our economy for this unnecessary experiment and unnecessary stunt. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.